Shut up and sit down.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello. Just keep going.
Okay. Welcome to Chapter Zero podcast.
I'm Megan,
And I'm Lily.
and this is Chapter Zero, Episode 3, Characters. I forgot to do the slogan. I'll just. It's fine. It's fine.
cool.
It's in the description. Okay. So do you want to begin, or do you want me to begin?
Yeah, I could start.
Okay.
So today we're talking about characters, how to create a character, where they're like born from, how to get inspiration, and then we're gonna dive into some books and talk about what characters we like out of them and such, and what we think makes a good character.
Ooh, and we have a guest this episode.
Yes, we do.
So that will come in part 2. We have a guest, our good friend Drew, who we met at college, and which is where we are right now. We met in school, and who also loves books as much as we do. So we asked him to come talk with us for a little bit. So that'll be fun. Okay.
Yeah, so first thing is, do you think of your characters first and then create a story around them? Or do you start with like a story and then you're like, what kind of character would be good in this world that I've already created?
Well, I mean, it depends, because I've been in situations where the world has been created and then I'm like, oh, I'm going to throw a character in there, but I think it changes the character when you do that. So I usually think of the people first, and then I think of the world, because the people are like who's going to be talking, and like they're going to drive the story pretty much. So I usually when I get an idea, it's like I get an idea because I am thinking of one specific kind of character that I'm like, this is interesting. And then I kind of go from there. So I usually start with one, and then I come up with like a foil, I guess. I don't know if that's what you call it. Like I come up with a opposite to that person, and then add people as I see fit. Usually I don't think of side characters before I start writing. The side characters just kind of appear.
Yeah, I agree.
Because otherwise it's like, I feel like it's too mapped out, and I'm like, I don't know these people. There's too many.
So when you first think of like, you get a story idea, does that story idea come with a character already in it? Like you're like, okay, this story is going to be about this girl who acts like this. Is that how it starts?
Yeah, like I think of a person who I'm like, okay, I usually am like, oh, I've never read anything like this, or oh, I've always wanted to read something like this where this kind of person deals with these kind of conflicts. So like an example would be like somebody who, this might give away, but it's fine. Somebody who doesn't really have a typical life experience and doesn't really know a lot about the world, but is incredibly like adaptable and kind of just handles things super differently than everyone else, and then is like thrown into the midst of a world that they have no idea about. And not in the kind of way that, because I don't like that trope where it's like not to bash Wonder Woman, but like that movie irritated me a little bit, because like she was like supposed to be this kind of strong figure, and then she comes into the world and she's like, oh my gosh, ice cream, and I'm like, now she's acting like a child.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. So I'm like, so I guess what I'm saying is that like think of a character, think of their kind of personality, how they react to conflict, and then put them in that conflict. So the conflict comes second to the character. Yeah.
Interesting.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I do it opposite.
Oh, fun.
So usually when I first get an idea for like a storyline, I feel like I get the world first or the situation first. And then I'm like, this is the amount of characters that I want.
Yeah.
Because I feel like for all the books that I've written, there's not just like, one of them, there's like a main, but a lot of the times it's not just one person.
Yeah, you usually write like interlacing people.
So I think of them second, and then I think of how the situation that they're placed in
Yeah.
shapes them, not how they
Uh-huh.
shape the situation.
Oh,
So
that's interesting.
Yeah, I think that's opposite to how you do it,
Yeah.
maybe.
I don't know.
So,
Because I feel like when I'm writing sometimes I struggle with this because I forget that they're in a specific world and I'm like, oh, I have to like mention where they are and like
Yeah.
that there's world stuff happening. Because I think I'm more, even when I'm reading, I'm more drawn to like the characters and I kind of care less
yeah,
about
me
where they
too.
are. So I like tend to think of things very character centric and they
Mhm.
kind of drive the story. But I think that's interesting. Because I remember sometimes when we talk and you're like, I don't know if they can do that. And I'm like, you can make them do it. And you're like, but I don't know because of the situation. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, just make them do it anyway. And then,
Yeah.
which, I mean, either way works.
Yeah. No, I definitely think characters are the most important part of books.
Yeah.
Because if you don't like the characters, why the heck are you going to read it?
This is facts because if you don't care about them, why
It's
are you
like,
reading
I don't care what you're doing, so I don't care about the situation you're in. But still, if you just, well, actually, if you just like the characters, sometimes I'll finish reading the book
Yeah.
and then not care about their environment or the situation.
Yeah.
But that's just, I mean, how I write is different from how I read.
Interesting.
So.
That is fun. Okay,
Yeah.
well, this is a good segue, I feel like,
Okay.
into
Paul Blart.
Paul Blart
Segue.
Mall Cop into the segue, just going right into it. Because, so we've talked about if we do
Sorry.
character first and then world, or world and then character, but then, like, once that's all said and done, you have characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you kind of walk me and our listeners, oh my god, through through your process of, like, we can start with name and age, maybe.
So I think of age first.
Okay.
Because I feel like age is kind of crucial to where you're at, like, life-wise
Yes.
and, like, learning-wise. If you write a younger character, you're gonna, I don't know why I said that weird. If you write a younger character, you're going to have to write them growing up.
Yes.
But if they're older, I think the experiences that they
Yeah.
have are going to be different and shape them differently.
It also, like, affects how they deal with, like, a teenager's
Yeah.
gonna deal with an adult telling them what to do differently
Yeah.
than
an
another adult or, like, a kid.
Yeah.
And, like, obviously life experience changes that, but age does play into
And
it, like,
then-
where your brain's at.
Yeah, like maturity too.
Yeah,
Like, you can't necessarily write a 16-year-old that acts like a 25-year-old.
yeah.
Because I've read books like that. I'm like, why did you make them 16 then if they're going to act like that?
Yeah, just make
Like,
them
that's
old.
not how a 16-year-old acts.
Yeah, just make them older.
Yeah, so then I do that. The name is something that comes, like, secondary. Like, if I think of a name straight away, I'll just use that name. But then sometimes I'm like, this nameless person is doing this, and then I'll think of a name whenever it comes to, like, it doesn't really matter to me that much. Like, I don't think the name is super duper important.
So you don't do, like, meaning
I
and stuff?
kind of do.
Okay.
Because I've explained to you, and this is fine. One of my books.
One of Lily's books
one
that
of-
she's working on.
Yes, one of my books that I'm working on has 4 kind of main-ish characters. They're siblings, and part of their characteristics
Mm-hmm.
is that they're born of a certain element,
Mm-hmm.
and so I chose names that reminded me of those elements.
Mhm.
So, like, water, fire, earth. I just, like, got those kind of sounding names.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like, it doesn't mean that, but
Mhm.
it sounds like that.
Yeah.
And then for the newest thing that I'm working on,
Mm-hmm.
I picked names that were inspired by their location.
Yes.
I'm being, like,
This
so
is
secretive.
so big. For
Yeah.
anyone who is wondering, we're crackheads and we're not just working on one project at one time because I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're working on several.
So I like
So-
names that don't necessarily, like, I'll look up the etymology of their names or
Yeah.
anything like that. But
Excuse me.
it's, like, I know it sounds good in the context of the book.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I would put, like, a Neil in,
Neil.
like, a fantasy novel necessarily, maybe. Or, like, a Bob. I don't think he fits in, like, a castle.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I've read a lot of books that are fantasy where the kids are named Kate.
I
There's always
don't-
there's a Michael,
I don't like
usually
that.
an Emma. I'm talking specifically about a book series I read where the kids are Kate, Michael, and Emma. Love that book series. The books of beginning, they're very obscure. Nobody knows what they are. I sobbed. Anyway, Yeah, that's interesting. Because I always had a habit of just making them whatever age and then realizing, like, oh, this person is 15 and they're, like, probably worried about stuff that I'm not making them worried about
Yeah.
because I'm not 15 when I'm
Yeah.
writing this. Yeah, were you finished? Sorry.
Yeah.
With
no,
your, okay.
With that question, yes.
Okay, because,
Because do you do...
again, I do it differently than
do
you.
age first?
Yeah, I do, well,
Or
no, I
name?
do name first.
Okay.
Once I have the character, I really can't do anything with them until I have a name, which, because I like to, I don't know, I like to throw hidden things in there. And I know that probably if anyone ever reads it, they're not going to be like, oh, I wonder what this means.
Yeah.
But when I was, like, really little, my mom read this book that, like, went hard into the specifics of Harry Potter, and I realized that she had, like, named each of them, and it meant something very specific and meant, like, and had, like, greater implications to the rest of the story, and I was like, that's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, plus if you're in an English lit class in the future and you're reading that book, you could totally pull that as symbolism.
I know,
and
I'd
your
be like,
teacher
oh my
would be
gosh,
like, "Whoa."
symbolism. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that for, I don't know, I like making the writing, like, kind of full of, like, whatever, like, it's just full of stuff that I threw in there.
Mhm.
So I like to choose a name that fits with the vibe and the personality of the character, and also sometimes with their story arc. So, like, I have one character whose name is actually, I got her name from the NATO phonetic alphabet, because I don't really know how to explain what that is. It's just like, it's like code names, I guess. You can,
It's like they put the words in place of letters.
yes.
Like if someone's reading a license plate, like the D's Delta.
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
then like the
A
T is
alpha.
Tango.
Yeah,
and then,
yeah.
Like those type of
Yeah.
names.
So I named her for my own initials in the NATO phonetic alphabet, and it kind of goes with, because it kind of goes with the character of, like, kind of having a name that isn't really hers, and it's, like, just kind of a code, and that kind of fits into the storyline. I don't know how to explain this, it's super vague, but you get the gist. We're being so vague.
Eventually maybe we'll share, but it's like...
Well, when they get published,
Yeah.
hopefully. Yeah, anyway, I like to choose a name that means something, and it's not like it's important to the story at all, and, like, you're not missing out if you don't look it up. I just like to have it for me. It helps me in my
Yeah.
own characterization of it. And then age kind of depends, because sometimes I want them to be younger if I need what they're doing to be shocking.
Mhm.
If that makes sense. Like,
Mhm.
the age is less about, like, I try to keep in mind, like, their age and what that means for their mental state or how they are emotionally, but also depending on what the conflict is. Like, if I want it to just be like, this is, like, really shocking that this person is going through, I will make them a little bit younger. But if it's, like, not as important, then it's kind of up in the air whether I want to. It also depends on, like, how much conflict, or, like, if there's gonna be romance, I usually make them older, because I'm like, this is a 14-year-old's, like, I don't know about that one. Like, it's
14-year-old?
well, because then my own personal opinion gets in the way, and I'm like, these people are so young, they should not be
Yeah.
worrying about this stuff. So I just I'll age them up.
Mm-hmm.
But again, even when I read, if I think their age is weird, I just, like, try to not think about it.
Yeah, I don't even know if it really comes up that much. I feel like unless it's super vital to the storyline,
It doesn't really
you
come
can
up.
kind of fill in the blank of how old you think they are.
Yeah. I mean, if it's young adult, they're probably somewhere
kinda
from
just
15 to
assume.
20 or whatever.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before, because you do Hogwarts houses.
I do astrology and
And
Hogwarts
yeah,
houses.
and I do zodiac signs. And then I started doing Hogwarts houses, which was really interesting because you mentioned it, and I was like, oh, that's fun. So let's talk about that.
Okay, so I started doing astrology like right from the get-go, because I feel like it's so easy if you're trying to think of characteristics. Sure, you can like be like, oh my god, this person's really stubborn, and they're like also like really materialistic, and they're this and this and this. Well, that's just a Taurus. So then you could just be like, okay, I'm just going to say they're a Taurus, and then I can look up what a Taurus personality is. And then you have a whole list of attributes that you can like assign to this person that makes it easier to write a character.
Yeah.
Same goes for like, so that's like sun, but then you could also do moon.
Yeah.
And so that you could just look up one and be like, okay, this is how they handle their emotions.
Yeah.
And so then it's the emotional side.
Yeah.
And then I also do Hogwarts houses, which kind of serves for the same thing, where it gives you like a list of attributes and it tells you like how they respond to things that are happening to them.
Yeah.
But it also works really well, I find, to see how character interactions happen.
Yeah.
So like if you have a Slytherin and you have a Gryffindor,
Oh, they're gonna
butt heads. So
Yeah.
that gives you like a whole like dimension of character to it as well.
Yeah. And I think that's interesting because it's like, it's not like you're holding the characters to these specific attributes. It's just like you can have it in the back of your mind while
Yeah.
you're writing it. And like obviously their experience is going to shape them because no two people are alike.
Yeah.
But
Just
it's just
like-
it's like a helpful stepping stone. It's also kind of fun because if
It's
people ever
very
ask
fun.
you, you can be like, oh, they're this.
I
Haha.
know. I can give you their whole freaking star chart.
I right? Well, because I didn't know anything about the zodiac signs until I met Lily when she was like, oh, there's a moon sign. And I was like, a what sign? So I only used to do a sun, and now I have sun, moon, and rising for almost all my characters because it helps me. But I don't actually do it right away.
I do it right away.
Okay, because I find it a little too constricting. I have to like kind of sit down and then start writing from their perspective and let them talk a little bit. To me, it sounds weird. Like I just have to like let them kind of happen however they're gonna happen when I first start writing them, and then once I get kind of a feel for what is going on, and then I'll go back and I'll be like, okay,
Yeah.
here's how it is, I guess. And then I found some really interesting things about with the Hogwarts houses. I have a lot of Hufflepuffs actually.
Love some Hufflepuffs.
Which
My
I
main
mean,
characters are almost always Slytherins.
Same. I am a Slytherin,
'Cause
so
I'm a
that makes
Slytherin
sense.
too.
almost all of my main characters are water signs because I'm also a water sign.
Mine are like,
They
They're-
have water in their chart.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you write what you know.
Mine are an even mix.
That's pretty good. I have a surprising amount of Geminis, which I think is funny.
I've got one Gemini.
I have a lot of Tauruses.
I don't have a lot of Taurus.
Because I think I like that. I don't have a lot of fire signs because if I'm going to have one, it's going to be one person and they're going to like...
But fire signs, if you give someone a fire sign, you know
That
they're
person
gonna
is
like
fuego.
freaking
Like they're
blow
gonna
up,
yeah, they're gonna have a lot going on.
they're going to be a character.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's only really, I mean, having two though is kind of fun. Because I feel like in Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, I feel like both Mare and Cal are probably fire signs, and that's why they're so
Cal's definitely
stupid.
a fire sign.
That's why they're so irritating to read because they just won't like sit down and settle down, and they like butt heads like crazy. But also that's kind of exciting, I guess. Okay, yeah. Ooh, let's talk about like types of characters, but not villains, because villains is
That's a whole
that's gonna be a
separate thing.
separate episode because there's a whole lot going into that. So like
Yeah.
protagonists, any kind of like
Side
anti-character, yeah.
characters.
Do you want to start?
The
Do you want me to start?
mentor. There's a whole
Ooh.
thing.
Yeah.
I read somewhere, probably on Pinterest.
Excellent.
I do like Pinterest. for
Pinterest is a great
inspo.
time.
Oh, another fun thing. I'll just throw this out there. Is
Please do.
making character boards on Pinterest,
Oh,
or
so
making
good.
just like storyboards on Pinterest. So like throwing together aesthetics that remind you of your book. Would recommend.
I like that. I think it's helpful.
Um,
Ooh, and making playlists.
Playlists is also
Anything that sets a mood is
Yeah.
a great time. Like it doesn't even have to. The words don't even have to mean what the
Yeah.
book means. Just the mood.
Yes. What was the question?
Sorry, we're trying to talk about like protagonists and
Okay.
characters
Oh yeah. So
in
no,
general.
I'm going back. Okay.
Yes.
I followed where I am.
Okay.
now. On Pinterest, I saw this thing that was like every single book and movie and story has like a list, like 27 different types of characters.
Oh,
I was like, that's a freaking lot.
that's a lot. Wait.
But it used the example of Harry Potter.
Okay, classic.
And I'm not going to remember all of them.
Okay,
but there is
that's fine.
a protagonist, there's a mentor figure, which would be like Dumbledore.
May he rest in peace.
There's like the sidekick, which would be Ron. In Lord of the Rings, it's Sam, who's I think the hero, but whatever.
You know, Sam really.
Um,
Sam is the one who carried the ring.
Sam
He dragged Frodo's
did
ass
the
across
most.
Middle Earth.
he did the most, and he stayed humble.
Right?
He did not ask for any
Just a
recognition.
segue.
He just stood in that freaking doorway as everyone went and hugged Frodo, and he just smiled at him because he knew deep
He
down
knew.
inside.
He knew he didn't even have to hug him because they
Yes.
knew. Also, let it be known, Sam and also Aragorn, the only people to ever literally have the ring and then give it back to Frodo.
Yes.
Also, Frodo couldn't do anything.
Frodo sucked.
Starting from like halfway through the second movie, Sam like is dragging Frodo across Middle Earth. He's dragging him, and Frodo can't do anything by himself. So like, let it be known that Sam is the true hero, the true ring bearer, because he bared Frodo and his like little whiny ass. I mean, sorry, love
Yes, it's
Frodo.
good.
I'm sure he was. I'm sure he was having a rough time.
Yeah, I'm seeing if I can find it. I'm looking on
Okay,
Pinterest
I
right
can
now.
just keep talking about Lord of the Rings if you want.
No, it's fine. I can't find it, but I found something.
I mean, we are going to make a lot of Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter references
Heck
because
yeah.
those were the gateway drugs of literature.
They really are.
Like,
they really are.
Because it's just it's a whole experience because there's so much material. There's so many books, and then there's movies, and then there's like the Pottermore website, whatever you think. I know there's a lot of like people are feeling certain ways about J.K. Rowling, and that's fine.
yeah.
But we're like not trying to get into that politics. We're trying to get into like the material, like the books.
Yeah.
Which I know people also have problems with, but like we're not trying to talk about that.
Yeah. It was like 1999, so we're kind of moving past that. So there's like different elements that seem to be in every book.
Yeah.
So are we talking like just main character types?
I mean, we can talk about anything, just not villains.
just not villains.
Cause like I wrote down in my notes anti-hero because like I think that's different than a villain. Because an
Interesting.
anti-hero is, I think, kind of like a character that could be the protagonist, but they like are so morally gray or like not really. Like you have your classic hero, like I'm gonna fight for what's right, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna like yeah, and then you have your character who's like really like embroiled in the conflict, but like doesn't really want to be there, and is kind of I love these characters. I
Yes.
think they're so fun. Kind of like a little bit like Katniss, but not really. Which we have thoughts on Katniss Everdeen, but like how she just doesn't want she doesn't want to be involved and she wants to run away. Like that's kind of like the anti-hero. And of course she eventually doesn't because she is the protagonist. And if she ran away, there would be no book, which honestly might
I don't like
Hot take.
books like that specifically because I do not like the trope of, oh my god, she's the only one that can do this. Katniss, you have to lead the uprising. No one else is going to do it. You have to do it.
other people
I
can do
don't
it.
like that. I don't like the chosen one trope. That's like my least favorite thing.
Really? I like
hate
that trope.
Nope, don't
Sometimes sometimes I like it, but I only like it when the person who is the quote chosen one isn't like, I have to do this, it's me. It's like other people saying, hey, it would be probably best if you did it. Like it would be best if you did it, but you don't have to. But that that's not really a trope, I guess. The trope is them saying, I'm the chosen one, I have to
Or
do it.
anyone saying you're the chosen one.
I mean, that's the whole Harry Potter series.
Yeah, so
That's a little different because there's a literal prophecy.
Yes,
there's
could
more.
have been Neville,
Could have been Neville, but it wasn't.
but it wasn't.
Um,
apparently.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, I think that's fun.
Yes. I do like anti-heroes.
I think they're
like
fun.
what I feel like I do instead of just having one anti-hero is I make everyone on their own moral track
Yeah.
so that when you're reading it you don't know who's good and bad because everyone's kind of acting the same and everyone's doing things that are considered not good and not
yeah.
bad.
I think that's interesting.
And so like there is no good and there is no bad. Everyone's gray.
Yeah. I mean, that's how human beings are a little bit because people get
Correct.
all up in arms about like
So I guess just showing the bad side of people
yeah,
rather than just the
like
good
showing
side.
their faults.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting. I will tell you, this is kind of a segue, I guess. Like, because we're talking about protagonists. Do you want to like? Because we are gonna answer like some general questions later, but like, do you want to talk a little bit about like things that we like and don't like? Because there's a lot of main character tropes and a lot of side character tropes that I feel like we can talk about.
Okay. I do not like. Let's talk about side characters for a
Yes,
second,
please.
because I don't think they get enough love.
Yes.
Let's talk about side characters. My least favorite thing that they do is make them dumb
Mm-hmm.
or make them less than the protagonist.
Yeah.
I like to view stories at more of like, this could be a story of anyone, but we're choosing to tell it about this one person.
Yeah.
So I don't think the side character should be like made into something like less than. Does that make any sense?
Yeah,
Like not dumbing them down for the sake of making the protagonist smarter
yeah,
or
like
something
not
like
like
that.
that.
Making them weak so the protagonist looks stronger.
Yeah, and I do think it's okay if like the protagonist is the protagonist because their actions are driving the
Yeah.
story, because that's obviously why they're the protagonist,
Mhm.
and the side characters are not really along for the ride. Like they are in the main course of action, but they like have their own thoughts and
Yeah.
have their own like things that they want, and they have their
Yeah.
own arcs, which I think is good. And
I don't
that's,
think they should be like blah characters.
yeah, like they can't just follow. Like there needs
Yeah.
to be some, and of course like if they want to follow the protagonist, that's
Mhm.
fine. But like at least including a conversation where they're like, you know you don't have to be here right now,
Yeah.
Jessica, if you don't want
Yeah.
to. I don't know why I
Like
use Jessica.
staying with Harry Potter, like Ron and Hermione are technically side characters.
Yeah.
But like they have their own. They're their own people.
Yeah, they do have their own. They have their own conflicts and their own, and I know we don't get anything from their perspective, but like
yeah, but we
it's,
learn a lot.
we obviously know they're not just following blindly. They know they know what's what.
Yeah.
And like I think that that's good. Yeah, I do like side characters kind of get like there are, I think in every book, side characters that are literally just mentioned and they're not really
Mhm.
like full focused in the book, but then like I always think it's good when the side characters kind of challenge the protagonist in a way.
Yeah. no,
Like
me too.
challenge them morally, or challenge them like just kind of keep them in check and say, hey, you can't do everything
Yeah.
that you want. Like there are other people here,
Yeah.
and you need to kind of be aware of that if the protagonist isn't aware, or like kind of helping them through whatever issues that they're going through.
Mhm.
Because I like that, but I also
I do
do
too.
like when there's multiple protagonists. Like I
Mhm.
like the multiple POV books that
Me
are becoming.
too.
I feel like those are becoming more popular,
Yeah.
to have multiple main characters. Because I mean, Six of Crows has six. I mean, there are like kind of three focal main ones in
Mhm.
that, but like, well, I guess I always viewed it as like Kaz was the main.
Kaz is the main.
He's
then
the main,
Inej.
then Inej, and then probably like Nina.
Probably Nina, then Jesper, then
Yeah.
Matthias, then Wylan.
Because Matthias and Wylan have less POVs.
Oh yeah, I think Wylan only has like two in the first
Two or
book.
something. I don't know. But like, even if Wylan is considered a side character, like
He's still a main.
he has his own arc that like
Yeah.
exists,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not just like him just being there,
Yeah.
which I think is important, because if the people are just there, then like, I mean, and it is hard if you're writing it, because there's like so much you have to keep track of.
Mm-hmm.
I always find that difficult. I forget everything that I've decided, and then I'm like
Me
trying to write, and I'm
too.
like, I don't know who you are. I don't remember what you want.
Me.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that's fun.
And then so for main characters, what do you like? or don't like?
Main characters. So I know for a fact what I don't like is like the brash main character where they're like,
freaking hate them.
where they're like, I'm my own person and I can do whatever I want, and they like yell at people
Yep.
and are angry all the time.
Yep.
Like I'm like,
And I find, sorry to interrupt,
go for it.
this might be controversial.
Hot take. Okay.
Is the writers tend to make women like that. And you can write female characters being strong, but in subtle ways that does so much more.
Yeah, and also like being strong, but just being themselves, and like being a quiet, shy
Like, they
person
don't need to be
doesn't mean that
jerks.
you're not a strong, independent
Yeah.
woman. Like like being, this is a hot take, being quiet and shy, quiet and
Being the River Kwai.
being quiet and shy does not automatically mean that you're a doormat and that you don't have your own thoughts and
Yeah.
that you can't speak for yourself.
Yeah.
And like not wanting to be in charge and not wanting to be, and not being the person who stands in front all the
Mhm.
time doesn't mean that you're not strong and independent. And I think that I'm not saying you just have to follow people, but like you don't have to, like scream and stand in front
Yeah.
to be strong.
You
And
can be your own person without being the only person.
Yeah, and I do get that in some instances of characters, like because of the society, like the protagonist does need to speak loud,
Yeah.
and that's fine. But I think
Mhm.
there's a clear difference between, like, you can have spunk but like not be rude.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's necessary, and like that's fine. But I just don't love it. That's why I think I like I love back to Six of Crows. I love Kaz and Inej because
Yeah.
Kaz is in charge and maybe he's mean, but he kind of just like does what he does and is like, yeah, this is who I am. Okay.
Yeah.
And like Inej is quiet and kind of like she's quiet and she's a nice person, but she
Mhm.
also is like, if people try and like tell her what's what, she's like, okay, well, no, this is what's what. I'm who I am, and like
Yeah.
you're not gonna
She just shows them
tell
up.
me otherwise.
Yeah.
Like she is quiet, but she's incredibly strong, and I think
Mhm.
that that's clear, and I do like that. And I guess
Yeah.
we could say that Nina's kind of a more out there character.
Mhm.
She's not brash though.
No.
She's just a little. She's just louder.
Let's talk about male protagonists.
Ooh. Oh yeah. Let's talk about this actually, because we did talk about women.
Yeah, so it's only fair we talk about
We
the
talk
main
about both.
characters.
Okay.
They can either be done really well and you get a main character like Kaz Brecker,
Yes.
or it can turn into a John Green novel where it's like, it's the grossest thing you've ever read in your
I
whole
literally
entire
just saw a video of someone making fun of not male protagonists but male authors and how they like write women, which I
Yes.
thought was funny. I mean, obviously writing from a male perspective versus writing from a female perspective is a different experience,
Yeah.
and like whatever, like whoever you are writing, like obviously it's going to be different.
Yeah.
But also, I feel like there's a clear line between, like, okay, we get it, he's a teenage boy, but also, like, this is uncomfortable for, so, like, I found a lot of books, like, uncomfortable for me out of when I was 15 reading this and being like, oh, is this how boys look at people?
Yeah, because I
Exclusively?
don't think it
And
is.
sometimes it might if they're, like, feeling a little hot and bothered, I guess. But, like, it can't be it cannot be the only way that they see people.
Yeah, and I don't think you should make out boys
to be
to
like
be
that.
like that.
It's just like it's just kind of reinforcing stereotypes that
Yeah.
we're trying to not reinforce.
Yeah.
But anyway, do you want to move into our questions
Sure
that we
thing.
were going to ask? And then next will be the segment with Drew. Okay. So these are just kind of general questions that we're asking each other. I guess we're just I'll just say the question and then we can both answer.
Okay.
So the first one is, what is your favorite character and why? And
I
you go
have
first.
multiple responses to this.
Go for it.
I have to start with my favorite book of all time,
Yes.
Six of Crows.
Yes.
Inej.
Woo woo. Love
The
her.
way that she is written and like characterized is so beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
There's so many layers.
Right?
She's so complex.
Her beginning is so like, oh my
like
gosh.
the entire, we're not gonna spoil it, but the entire like backstory
Oh, it's
into
so
present, into the future where you
It's
see
so
she's
good.
going is so good. And if you've not read Six of Crows,
By Lee Bardugo. Please
it.
do. Our queen.
another character that I can't necessarily think of a reason why other than just story arc, is Catherine from Heartless.
Oh, love her. Love her.
Love her. The story arc is so good. I don't know if this is in the back cover. Am I going to spoil it if
I
I say
don't-
what it's about?
I mean, Heartless is about the origins of the Queen of Hearts.
Okay, so you can't say it.
Which, I mean, we all know how that story ends up,
Yeah, so
so it's not a spoiler.
okay.
We all know that the
Well, I
Queen of
was-
Hearts ends up being bad.
I was going to say,
Ability.
is the spoiler telling them that that book's about that?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
I would say her because, like, given that whole storyline of you go into the book knowing that she's going to end up as the Queen of Hearts, you're like, oh, well, how's that going to happen? And then it happens, and you're like, wow, that was really good. And then more on maybe like a slightly like obscure note, but not totally, is Salt to the Sea
Mm-hmm.
by Ruta Sepetys. That book follows 4 individuals, and it's a historical fiction novel.
Mm.
So it's set in like it's set during World War II.
Mhm.
So the environment around it's really like anxiety driven,
Yeah.
and so to see characters that are like put into that is like
That's
really
really
interesting to
interesting, yeah.
read. And then seeing how 4 different people from 4 different backgrounds are like experiencing that was like really well written, and I loved all of the characters.
That's exciting. I want to read that.
It's very good.
Okay. So I actually have only one. Obviously, I have a lot. Inej, love her. But I thought I would choose one that has been a favorite character of mine for a long, long time. So from the book series The Penderwicks by Jane Birdsall, it's a kid's book. I mean, I guess you can read it whenever. I read it when I was little, and I loved Skye Penderwick, who was like, she was the second oldest of the 4. It's a book about these 4 sisters and their dad, and their mother has passed away when they were when the youngest one was born. And it's just kind of like the first one, there's a lot going on. The first one is kind of them going on vacation, and then they meet this boy, and then it's just their adventures at this little vacation home. And I just really, really loved Skye Penderwick because she was kind of like the dark horse of the family. She didn't look like the rest of them, and she kind of had like, she was really spunky, and she was actually a little mean, but I thought she was so interesting because like she had all of this and she was a little bit brash, but then when there would be chapters from her perspective, like underlying all of that there like this love for her family, and like this like kind of soft side that she really didn't want to show anyone, but like was there. And then when you like reading her perspective and then going back and reading through the story and seeing that, and you're like, oh, like you can see. And I just thought that development was so interesting. And like a lot of the conflicts that happen in the book, Skye is the one to kind of like lead that emotionally and physically, which I thought was so interesting. So love Skye Penderwick. The Penderwick, I think there's 4 of them now, 5 of them, I think. I don't know. They're really good. You should read them. They're very like, I don't know. They're like a little bit heavy, but then they're also so wholesome and so sweet, and kind of like a really good little summer's day read. Okay. So that's my favorite character. And then, okay, least favorite character. Just switch to the other side. You have some thoughts, don't you?
Katniss Everdeen. Freaking no, Katniss, no.
She needs to stop.
I remember reading the first book, and I was totally cool with Katniss. I was like, wow, what a brave individual.
She's good in the first one.
Okay. Then we get to the second book.
Yeah.
She's okay. She's messing with my boy Peeta, who I did like Peeta.
Love
I was
Peeta.
team Peeta from the beginning.
Okay, alright.
Okay, then we get to the third book, and it's like, what are you doing, Katniss? What are you doing? What are these choices that you're making? Why are you acting like that? Why are you being like that?
She was really irritating in the third one.
And then they like, the ending, like, was beautiful and sad. And yes, I did cry for a good long time. But also, I was like, no.
Yeah,
No.
it's just like, she didn't deserve Peeta.
She didn't deserve
Not one person.
Peeta.
Not one person on
She
this earth
totally
deserves
just
Peeta.
rejected Gale.
Yeah.
They're not even, like, I don't know.
I mean, he did kill her
And
sister.
then they make the movies. The movies is what sent me over the edge. Hot take, I don't really like Jennifer Lawrence.
You and my brother both.
But I think it's because of the movies that I don't like her.
Oh, I mean,
Because I thought she was annoying.
oh, interesting.
Oh my god. I thought she was annoying. Her cry face was like a lot to handle. I don't know.
It's okay.
I don't know. So yeah, Katniss, but I would also say small little thing. Don't like Mal from Shadow and Bone.
Ooh, okay, yeah. I have thoughts on
They
him.
just finished wrapping Shadow and Bone,
Oh,
the TV
so
show today,
excited.
which we're so pumped about because
Yes.
Leigh Bardugo is queen. But I don't like Mal, so I'm interested to see
how it's gonna play out.
they do his character, because I felt zero empathy for him.
Oh,
I did not
see,
care about him.
I liked him in the first book, and now in
Never
the
liked
second book, I was like, Mal, I need you to like get yourself together,
Yeah.
because like I get that you're going through a lot, but like you're not going through what these other people are going through, and I need you to like sit down a minute.
Yeah.
Anyway, my least favorite character, also from the Hunger Games, which, side note, I actually do love the Hunger Games as a whole book, and I love the movies. I love the movies because the movies have such a great vibe.
They do.
They have a great vibe. They did a really good job with the aesthetic of that.
Yeah.
My least favorite character is not Katniss, though I don't really love her. I did not like Gale.
Gale.
I hated Gale.
Hawthorne.
So actually, this is a hot take. I liked Gale in the first book, and I was totally team Gale. And then also, like, I thought he was so hot, and I was like, oh my god, love Gale. And then the second book comes around, and I was just like, Gale, I need you to stop.
Yeah.
Because he just is so, like, I get that he doesn't get what she's going through, but, like, I'm like, you could try a little harder.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could try a little bit harder to put your ego to the side. And then the third book came around, and I was like, Gale, you have gone on and on about how the Capitol's killing people and all this stuff, and here you are doing the same thing.
Right?
And I was like, Gale, I need you to take a step back and look at yourself. And obviously, like, he's my least favorite character, not because I don't think he's written well. I think he's written fantastic. Like, because for me to actively dislike a character this much, they have to be a great character. So great character, but I don't like him. Yeah. So that's my least favorite character. Okay. So now choose an existing character and then like put them in a different story, and what would that be? Not necessarily a story, but like we can say setting.
It would be Day from the Legend series, and I would set him in a heist.
Ooh, that would be so
because
interesting.
He already in like the first book does that kind of stuff. We just don't see it.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to take him and put him in a separate world from that, but doing the same types of things, but we actually get to see it.
Yes. Okay, that would be so interesting.
Yes.
I said Catherine from Heartless.
Interesting.
And I would put her, this is kind of specific, I'd put Catherine from Heartless post, like, the very last chapter of Heartless. And then put
so
her...
Red Queen story. I mean...
No. Like, she's still young. Like, it's just happened.
Okay.
Like, have it be, like a week after... Her characterization a week after the end of Heartless. And I put her in a kind of a fast-moving contemporary novel with a lot of characters. And just, like... where she's just surrounded by people, like a group of friends, like living their lives and like going through high school, and just like have her be a part of that based on what she's just seen, and see what would happen with her.
Really interesting.
I think that would be interesting. And then our last question is, what makes you root for a character? So this is when we say, like, I think we didn't clarify, when we say a least favorite character, we're not trying to say, like, oh, the character's badly written. Just, like, we don't like them.
No, I certainly could never write Katniss.
Oh, no.
She did a good job.
She did a great job.
They're good books.
Yeah.
I just happen to dislike.
Yeah. So, like, what makes you root for a character? Like, what makes you want them to either, and this can go, I think this can go either way. Like, either root for them to succeed or root for them to just crash and burn.
Oh, interesting.
That's how I'm taking it.
I said if I'm rooting for a character... this also kind of goes for what makes me like a character, is the way that they deal with their emotions. If they deal with it in a way that, I mean, I'm not going to say the way I don't like, because then it's like, oh, it's all about me. But in a way that I don't connect with, automatically I'm going to, like, lose that, like, thing with them. So, like, the way they handle their emotions, how they're feeling about certain situations. Also, like, their faults. So, like, I don't like when characters are perfect. I like when there's, like, a lot wrong with them. And so to see, like, that, like, realness from them, like, it makes me feel like I'm not reading a book. It makes me feel like I'm seeing them.
Yeah.
And then, like, the reason behind doing something. So a big part of writing a character is finding, like, their wants. What do they want more than anything? And then what are they doing to achieve what they want? And so if they're doing something, let's see, how am I gonna phrase this? I guess just what their want is. I
that makes sense. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
There's
what,
I can't really expand on that. Just like
what they want.
why they're doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because mine is definitely like with the emotions thing. Like I want to know how they handle their emotions, and then what makes me root for them is like if they're is seeing how when they're faced with a conflict, how do they then interact with the people around them who they're closest to. That makes me root for them, because if they start being selfish, then I'm like, oh, okay, well, bye. Like, just seeing how I think mine is really like seeing how they interact with other characters, and if I like that really like touches me in a way, then I'm like, okay, I want them to succeed. If that makes sense. That's pretty much it. Is like how they interact. Yeah. So.
All right, I think we'll cut to our Q&A with Drew.
Yes.
He's going to answer the same questions.
Yes.
He is also writing a couple books as well.
Yes.
So.
Hello? Okay. Hello, welcome to the segment where we ask somebody a question or like 5 questions. So this is like a little Q&A.
Or a Drew and A, because we have our friend Drew here. It's very funny.
It's very funny. Yes, we love Drew, and he loves books and loves writing, and so we thought we would ask him some questions. Okay. Drew, say hello.
Hi, I'm Drew. I'm friends with Megan and Lily.
So we've been talking about characters, and yeah, here we go. Okay. Do you want me to ask all of them, or do you want me
We can alternate.
Okay. So Drew, what is your favorite character and why?
Of all time, every book
Of
you
all
guys
time.
read.
It can be a movie too.
Yeah.
That is so. This is such a difficult question.
Yeah, just like first person that comes to your mind.
What if I think about like the most influential books?
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, no. Okay. I think my favorite character of all time was a character I read in the 3rd grade from the Magic Thief series by Sarah Prenius. His name is Conware, but they just call him Con for short.
That's fancy.
It's a type of bird, I think, in the book series. Like Conware is a type of bird, and he's a thief. He's a thief, and he's picking the pocket of this wizard, and he steals his. In this world, wizards don't use wands; they use magic stones called Locus Magicalicae.
Whoa.
And he pickpockets a wizard's stone, and the stone like starts to kill him because you're not supposed to steal a wizard's stone.
True.
But it doesn't kill him, and so the wizard's like, "Why are you? What's different about you?" And he's my favorite character because I like the way he is. He's very much like when he talks to people, they upset him, and he's always like, "You're asking the wrong questions. Like you're asking like don't ask me that. That's a dumb question. Ask me a better one." And they're like, "What is the right question?" And he's like, "I don't know." And so I just like him because he's fun and different.
That's fun.
It's gritty.
Okay, cool.
So then, who do you think's your least favorite character you've ever read and why? Or seen in a movie?
My least favorite character.
Yeah.
Like a character that really just bores me.
Yeah, one that you just hate.
Yeah.
I just do not.
You just
care.
don't like them.
Like Lily's controversial one. I don't think it's controversial because I agree.
Hate Katniss Everdeen.
Katniss Everdeen.
I hate her so bad.
She's so irritating.
Could not care less. I don't know, because I feel like if I've read a book with a character that's boring, then the whole book is forgettable to me.
Oh.
And so I don't even know if I can isolate a character
Hot
because
take.
I've just forgotten it all. Like I read, this is so mean.
Say it.
I read Reign of the Fallen.
Oh. Oh, we talked about this.
But did you guys talk about this
No,
book?
No,
we
talked
talked
about this.
about it.
Oh, I read Reign of the Fallen by, probably shouldn't say.
Call her out.
Sarah Glenn Marsh. Fucking her main character. The reason why I hated that book. I gave it 1 star on Goodreads, and the reason why I did not like that book is because that character's like internal dialogue was so loud, okay, and the world around her was not exciting enough to warrant that much introspection. It wasn't. She meditated on everything all the time. even when there was nothing to meditate on. And I could not read that. The events of what were happening, too disjointed, not entertaining enough, not exciting enough.
Is this the one where she like cries about?
Because her like guy died at the
then
beginning,
she
and like I
cries
get it,
for
like
half
you're sad.
the book.
And then she tries to like have an addiction, and she was like drinking these pain potions. Like I get it, you're on fucking
Spoiler
opium,
alert.
but like calm down, calm down.
Okay.
All right.
Tell us how you feel.
Okay.
No,
No,
it's
no,
good.
please give it to us. Okay.
Next question.
Ignore how I spelled everything wrong.
Is it this one? yeah.
No, we just did that one.
No.
Oh no, it is that one. Yeah.
Okay. Choose an existing character that has already been written out in the universe. Take that character and then throw them into your own book.
Ooh.
What character would you use to do that?
Oh my! Oh wow! Okay, that's exciting. I like that.
Yeah.
An existing character. I hate like
Yeah.
when you hear these questions, your mind immediately forgets everything you've ever read.
Right.
Correct.
It's like when someone asks, "Oh, what kind of music do you like?"
And I'm like, I don't know.
I'm
And
just
it's like I actually couldn't tell you.
like I've never heard a song a day in my life.
Yeah.
I don't
Or
know
like what
music
TV
is.
shows do you like? It's like I'm so sorry, I have no idea. I've never
Or if
watched
somebody
TV. I don't
asks
know.
you like a small talk kind of question, but like an obscure one that you haven't heard before, so
Yeah.
it's like you can't
You're just
you
not
can't just
prepared.
recite your programmed response. Hello, my name is blank. I am this major. I want to do this. I'm
Oh
this
my
year.
God,
Like
yeah.
if they throw you
They're just
a
like,
curveball and you're like, I don't know who I am.
Just like I piss me off.
I do.
I'm trying to think of like a character that I really would like to have written, or sorry, not like to have written, would like to pluck out and
Yeah.
put into my own scenario.
Yeah.
Well. Huh. I think a character that I would like to take and put into my own story.
Hello, this is Editing Lily. Just popping in to tell you that there is a spoiler coming up for the Red Queen series, specifically the last 2 books. So if you plan to read those and haven't already, I would skip ahead about 6 minutes. Don't get spoiled like I'm about to. Okay, goodbye.
Maven Calor, you know what? You were broken beyond
Oh my
repair.
goodness.
You really were. You deserved a redemption, but you also deserved death. You couldn't have both.
Drew, did you just spoil it for me?
Oh my god!
Drew! Oh no! Oh no! Drew!
I am so sorry. Oh,
I'm
fuck.
sorry for
You
everyone.
just pulled a Megan. You just spoiled it.
Ew, I hate that
Which
that's my
book were you
legacy.
on?
The
Second
the
one.
Definitely didn't get to that. Okay, so I'll be putting a spoiler warning in there before you say that.
Yes, before
Um,
it is spoiled, thank you.
Jeez, Drew.
Okay.
If it helps.
Maven!
I won't tell you how it
That
happens.
doesn't matter,
why
really.
It
It
happens.
really does not matter.
Lily, but
He's dead and no one can remember.
Lily, I know that, but I feel like you.
I mean, I'm not going to read the
I
next
know-
two because
I
I
know-
really just can't. But
I
still.
know.
Wait, Lily.
No.
Then what?
Lily, but you knew like a character like that, they always die.
No.
Yes, they do.
Not necessarily.
Yes.
Name another one that's exactly like him and then
There's
died.
not another one.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, another one like him.
Okay, keep going. Just
Okay,
keep
anyway,
saying what you're
cool.
saying. Did you
Are
answer
you
the
done?
question?
Yeah, he did.
Yes, Maven. I will rescue Maven.
Okay.
What
we're-
kind of thing would you put him into?
Yeah.
Like same genre, different genre? Would you go for like similar storyline, completely off the wall, different storyline?
I would do like with his same characterization and the same broken little boy. I would put him. Wait, what do you want to know?
She's saying she just killed. She's whispering to me right now. She killed him. She just really killed him. Victoria Avery really just killed him. And then she goes, "Does Cal die too? Do you want to know?"
Yeah. Because
No.
I don't care. Dang it, I'd rather him die.
Cal doesn't die.
Does Mare die? I wish she would die.
No, Mary
No.
doesn't die.
Do they end up together? I'll cut this out.
Calamare?
Yeah.
I mean,
Like yes and no. Like they're they're together, but then they're both like it's like indicated that they're gonna take some time to like take a break and sleep probably, and then they'll reunite.
I read
Okay.
Broken Throne.
Are they in it?
Yeah.
Are they together?
They do end up getting back together. At first, they're
Are they
trying to avoid
married?
each other. They don't get married at the end of that. They try to avoid each other, and then I think
Okay,
we
wait.
all
In
meet
Broken
eventually.
Throne, they get back together. They
Mhm.
try to avoid each other.
They go to a cafe. They're trying to avoid each other, and then Evangelina's like, "Oh, let's go on a walk," because she becomes Mayor's bodyguard.
Oh,
She's
cool.
like, "Oh, let's
Sugar
go on a
Ruby.
walk," and then they go on a walk, and
And
it's to the
Talbot's
cafe
in-
where he's like sitting, and Mayor's like, "Did you plan this?" She's like, "Me plan this," and then she walks across the street where Elaine is already sitting,
That's funny.
and she's like, "I would
Evangeline
never."
is my favorite.
She's so good.
So then they get back together.
Yeah, they get back together.
Of course they do.
They do.
There was that one tweet of Victoria Aveyard reposting the Parasite director making his Oscars kiss, and it was me and me, and then the Oscars with characters that don't like each other.
I love it.
Characters that hate each other. Anyway,
Was
Lily,
there
how are
a
you doing?
question?
I'm over it.
Okay,
Anyway.
cool.
What
Um,
were we talking about?
we-
something?
Yes, we have. Did you honestly just forget?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
we're recording a podcast about.
No, not
asking
that.
questions.
The question.
Oh, yeah,
the
we're-
question
okay.
was, what kind of world would you have put
Maven
Maven
into.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought you forgot what we were doing. You know, say.
like what genre?
I want to see how Maven would do in the world of Six of Crows.
Oh damn.
He would fail.
He'd be so upset because his precious little hands would get so dirty.
I really just want to hold him and love him in all the ways that his god did not. By his
Aw.
god, I mean Victoria Aveyard.
Yeah, but Libra Dugo, is she really gonna be that much nicer to him?
Okay, you're absolutely right, and you should say it again.
Like, how nice is she?
She
we-
isn't.
We all saw the backstories. We read them.
Like we.
If
Writing
there's
is
children in a
fucking
street,
sports to
there's children in a street gang. Like, I don't know how good of a life these children have. I mean, they do because they're friends, and that's beautiful, and I love that for them. But like,
I know what I would write.
they
Okay,
don't have
what?
parents. So
I would write Maven. Okay. The world of Red Queen.
Okay.
Okay. He is Prince of Norta.
Okay.
He is taken from Norta into a different country
Okay.
where he is not recognized as a royal, and he has to live like that.
This is incredible.
That is
Sounds
his
like
story.
a fan fiction. Okay, next question. Last question.
Okay.
How does your process go for like thinking up characters and then like totally like rounding them out and like coming up with their name or like characteristics of them? Like, how many side characters do you need? Do you think of that first? Like, kind of. It's a long question, but like, do you sit down and you're like, okay, I need to think of a main character, or is it more like they come with your original idea, like your parody?
Okay, whenever I have an idea, the character always comes first.
Okay.
And so they show, like, I don't think of the story first. I always think of the story and the character at the same time
Interesting.
because I'll have an idea and it's like,
Interesting at the same time. Cool.
But it's like when I have an idea, it's like the lights come up on a stage.
Uh-huh.
And when the lights come up on the stage, there's already someone standing there.
Wow, that was very poetic.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But as it stands, like when the lights come up, their face is obscured, and so I start to like think, okay, this is like, say for instance, like when I created Neela, it was like I had this idea. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a country. These are the rules. Like before the story, this was just the world building, and then when I'm like, okay, these are the rules in this country. These are the rules. These are the rules. I was like, oh my gosh, what if this happened? And at the same time, what if this happens? I go, it's happening to this person. And then I start to come up with a name that I think is in line with the genre I'm writing, because if it's a contemporary novel, they're not going to have...
So you think of the name first?
I always think of the name first. I like to name my children.
That's
That
good.
sounds weird.
Well, it's true-ish.
I like to name them, and then when I think about the things that I'm planning on happening to them, like when I start to see the events that they're going to go through, I'm going to be like, how are they going to react to this? And I'm like, oh, in order for me to determine how they're going to react, I need to know what they've been through already. And so then I start going back, and I always start with their parents. Or whether or not they had parents, or like some kind of parental figure, because I am a sociologist, and I do believe that if you aren't exposed to language during the first 5 years of your life, you will fail as a human being.
Whoa.
You will be developmentally inhibited. The research is indicative of this. So in my stories, at least for the first 5 years, something has to happen. Then I'm like, well, if someone's been taking care of you for the first 5 years, they've probably been taking care of you for the first 10. And after 10, you're probably eligible to be off on your own, sad, alone, lost in the streets or whatever. So if I write orphans, they always are at least 10 years old. Because it makes the most sense. And then once I've decided that, bada bing, bada boom, what did you do on the streets? How's it been going? How's it hanging? Why are you like this? Are you gruff? Are you delicate? Are you gentle? Are you angry? What's up? Let's talk about it. Why? Why are you angry?
I like that. Old timey voice.
And yeah, that's it.
Why, Judy?
Why, Judy?
So how do you think of like the name? Do you like look those up, or do you like?
Does meaning of the name
Yeah.
play into it at all?
Or I've heard some people, and you and I did this at
Uh-huh.
one time, where it's like she needs to have a name that ends with this sound, or she needs to have a 2-syllable name, or like.
Yeah, because
Does that matter? Or is it just like whatever fits?
Yeah.
Here's the thing with names. There are just some names that I think sound good. Like I'm like, oh, this name sounds really pretty.
Yeah.
The only problem is, if I come up with a name, I need to hurry up and write the story fast. Because if I meet someone with that
Then it's
name,
ruined.
but the thing is, if it's someone cool with that name,
That's
or
fine.
someone I don't really talk to with that name, then it's fine. But if it's someone who is irritating and they have that name, I'm like, I have to rename a character. I have to rename a whole character. Or if it's someone who, when I see them, something in my stomach just sort of rides in disgust and distaste, I'm like,
Cool.
great, now I have to change the name.
Yeah.
And because of this, I have gone through like several names
Mhm.
until eventually I pick one that is uncommon enough
Mhm.
that it doesn't change. Like I don't know very many Adrians. I've met maybe 2 in my entire life. I don't know any Morgans. I know one Ezra, and I speak to him maybe once every 2 weeks in passing.
Interesting.
Okay, fun.
Cool.
Yes. Also, fun fact. Sorry, that was really loud.
Just silence, and then
I know
Okay,
that
go.
some names have really different spellings, and so if I know someone who's kind of an asshole with a name,
spell it differently.
if it's a different spelling, it means nothing to me. It means absolutely like, oh, you're not John, you're John. So not with an H. No,
Oh,
no.
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 You're a Jon. You're better.
You're
You're
a
different.
John.
You're
Snow.
unique.
Jon. Do you look like what Megan was saying? Do you look for the meaning of the name?
I don't.
Oh,
I do
interesting.
not.
I don't really either.
I do that with places and locations in my book, not with characters.
I do it with names.
Like the palace, the Lex Citus.
Yeah.
In my main book, Lex Citus actually means law of massacre.
Oh damn.
That's
And
intense.
it's
That is really intense.
It's because the
Is that
reason
Latin?
it is Latin.
Okay.
The reason she was queen was because she killed so many people.
Oh.
And they all knelt out of fear. And so the law is the law of massacre.
Whoa.
And one of the
That's really
cities
cool.
is called Ta Caprico.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, you're gonna love this.
Ta Caprico.
It's called Ta Caprico, and it's called Ta Caprico because it is a city in the forest, and it's mostly Earth themed. And
Oh my
Taurus
God, is
is
it
an
a
Earth
mix?
sign,
Yes.
and Capricorn is an Earth sign, and Virgo is an Earth sign.
That's
So it's called Ta
funny.
Caprico.
I love that. That's cool.
I guess I have one name that. Excuse me.
Yeah.
There are people arranging things in the next room over.
Do you
So,
mind?
I'm sorry. I have one. Morse Terra means Deathland, which is what it is.
I do. Adrian's last name is Morris, actually. Also,
Oh, Death.
yes,
no.
Adrian Morris.
Adrian Death. Also, I'm going to be completely honest with you. We can cut this out. Adrian makes me think of Rocky because his
Adrian.
wife's name is Adrian, and then she dies. And then there's a song called Yo Adrian in which he's like crying because he won, but Adrian died.
You know my favorite song with crying in it?
I I did listen to the because I was
Ew,
going through
don't-
my liked music, and that came up, and I was like, oh my god. So I just let it play.
Did you actually?
It's kind of a
Drew, would
vibe.
you like to give the listeners an unsettling song recommendation?
I would like to recommend to the listeners, this is up to Lily and Megan as to whether or not this stays in, but Han Mi's Lament by Paul Shapira, that is HAN-MI''S, Han Mi's Lament, LAMENT, by Paul, that's spelled like regular Paul, Shapira, SHAPERA, Shapira. Give it a listen. Give it a listen.
Please, if you want to comment your thoughts, if you listen, please do.
do.
It's an interesting time. It was an
It's a lament.
it was
what
an
can I say?
experience that we
I
had
loved that
like
moment.
2 weeks ago.
I think about it all the time.
I think it's funny, but I also hate it.
Sometimes it is a whole vibe. Like,
I think it's a forever whole vibe.
honestly, because like if I'm
Whatever
feeling-
mood you're in,
Yeah.
if you're
You
happy,
could
you just
yes.
laugh
listen to
at
it.
it. If you're sad, you just go with it. It's great.
Sometimes when I
It's
feel
very
particularly
versatile.
distressed, I like play the song and I'm like, she can cry for me because
There
I
you go.
can't. She can do it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all of our laments. I
It's
guess
all
I don't
our
know,
moments.
but yeah.
We're all Hanmi.
Han me M-E.
It's Hanwi.
Oh, Han,
Yes.
all of us. Okay.
All of us.
That's yes. Stretch.
All right.
Well, thanks, Drew.
Yeah,
My
thank you.
pleasure.
We'll probably do a whole episode with you.
Yeah, we'll
If
probably.
you want to.
I would love
We
that.
want to do a whole
You have
episode
good
with you.
ideas.
Drew will be a reoccurring guest, probably. Quickly before we go, that was Drew. We're super glad that he was able to talk to us. You will probably hear him on the podcast in episodes to come, whenever we can track him down. And so yeah, to wrap up, we can just quickly say what we're reading, or watching, or listening to, whatever. So do you want to go first?
Sure. I am currently reading books for school.
Love that.
Um,
We love that student life.
So during like the school season, I don't really read like a lot for my own enjoyment.
Mhm.
Just because I can't read like 2 books at a time, and then I'm just so busy that I don't have time to like sit down and read a book. And
Understandable.
if I am gonna sit down, I'll probably write maybe instead, which I don't do that.
It's okay.
So I'm reading some books for school. I recently read. It's called Bluettes.
Ooh.
It's by what's her name? Maggie Nelson.
Mhm.
And that was for one of my poetry classes, and I thought it was really beautiful, and it was actually something that I enjoyed reading.
Okay.
And if you're a big fan of Lorde, which I am, her entire melodrama album is like inspired by that book.
Oh.
And so I'm also listening to melodrama a lot.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's what I'm listening to. And then watching, I started rewatching Revenge, which is like one of my favorite TV shows of all time,
Mhm.
and has really been like inspiring me to write. It's such a good show. There's excellent writing, really good acting. And then I've also been rewatching How I Met Your Mother.
What a good show.
It is a good show. And yeah, that's like, they're 22 minutes long, How I Met Your Mother, so I just watch that like while I'm cooking dinner, or like while I'm getting ready or something, just because you don't have to pay attention to it that much. Yeah, Megan, how about you?
Well, I'm also reading a lot of books for school. I'm in a medieval literature class, which is actually, I find very interesting, because, I don't know, it's fun to see the tropes from, like, literally the year 1500, and, like, it's a lot of Arthurian literature, which I find really fun. If you're interested in a funny and weird time, read L'Envol. I don't know if we know who the author is. It's very short. It's kind of just, it's a wild ride. And I'm actually, so I was reading Cruel Prince by Holly Black, which I do really like, but I paused because one of Lily's favorite book series, Legend by Marie Lu, which I hadn't read before, and then Drew actually just finished reading it, and so I was like, I want to be in on this. So I read the first one. What a time. Love
So
that.
good.
So I'm actually probably going to start the second one tonight, which I'm very excited for. I'm really enjoying that. I have a feeling it's going to really put me through it. So I'm excited for that. What am I listening to? I haven't been really listening to anything new lately. Yeah, I haven't been listening to anything new.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll listen to melodrama. Who knows? I love Lorde.
Lorde is our savior.
She's great. And then what have I been watching? Well, I've been watching Wizards of Waverly Place, but I've also been watching that not Netflix. It's the National Geographic One Strange Rock, hosted by Will Smith, which I think is hilarious because it's like there's a lot of like smash cut sequences of like Will Smith like trying to explain something drastic, and then they'll like have like a scene of like an extra throwing like a baseball, and then as it impacts with the glove it'll smash cut to like a volcano exploding, and then Will Smith like enters in on the side and it's like, that's wild. And Will Smith is hilarious.
Oh, Will Smith.
Love that for him. But I actually think it's really interesting. They're like looking at the world from space, and then the astronauts talk about like the world, and I've never seen it from that perspective, so that's interesting. So yeah, that's what I'm watching.
Cool.
So yeah, I think that's it for episode 3.
Characters. So if you want to follow us on Instagram or Facebook, if you're down with the Facebook, it's at Chapter 0 Podcast. And so we'll probably post like updates on, mostly Instagram, so you know when we post again, because we don't necessarily have a schedule as of yet.
Yes, because we really are busy. College students. We are very busy trying to get that degree.
Yeah.
So bear with us. We're doing as much as we can. But yeah, we're on SoundCloud.
We're on SoundCloud, YouTube.
Okay.
Subscribe there.
Yeah. Chapter 0 Podcast. So yeah, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll stay tuned for next time, I guess. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.